Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Wrestling with Anime. I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.
Alrighty, so this time I had to watch 2 episodes of Baccano, and you got to watch an episode of Smackdown, and an amazing triple threat from Wrestlemania 20. Triple H versus Shawn Michaels versus Chris Benoit. So what are we going to start with?
Let's go ahead with me discussing seeing the triple threat on WrestleMania.
Okay. Tell me about the triple threat from WrestleMania 20.
Well...
And tread carefully because you're treading on cherished childhood memories.
Duly noted. So, apparently there was a whole bunch of a tiz about a whole bunch of stuff with Triple H being the World Heavyweight Champion.
Yes.
And Shawn Michaels having a tiff about it and wanting to have a match with it. But then Chris Benoit comes in and he's like, he wants to fight him.
Well, okay, so Michaels and Triple H, to my memory, now I'm not 100%, I believe at the time they had a world title match and it ended because neither man answered the referee's 10 count.
Yes.
And Benoit had won the Royal Rumble, so he therefore would be challenging for the world title at WrestleMania.
Yes.
Which is why you have the triple threat, basically.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about the match itself.
So, match itself, Shawn Michaels and Chris Benoit kind of got into a little competition. It's like, I want to fight him. No, I want to fight him. And then Triple H just sort of comes in every now and again. It's like, I'm the man in heat.
I love, like 30 seconds into the match, or maybe a little more, maybe a minute, there's a spot where they've knocked Triple H down.
Yes.
And Shawn turns around and Chris just grabs him and he immediately goes for the crossface. Yes. And I just love that. He's like, fuck it, I'm ending this right now.
Yeah.
I love that. Every time he gets a chance to, he's immediately going to finish the match.
Yeah.
It's great.
And it was just kind of a case at the start of the match of Shawn and Chris just fighting it themselves and throwing Triple H out of the ring. Just and we need to settle this first before we can kick your ass.
And it's so smart, the booking is so smart because Triple H is like, fuck it, I'm not getting involved. Let them beat the shit out of each other. Until his title's in danger, and then he comes in and saves himself.
Yeah.
And then bails and he's like, fuck it.
Yeah, great. There was that, I believe it was Shawn that did the jump off the ropes off the ring.
Yes, he does a moonsault while Benoit and Triple H
were fighting outside of the ring.
Yeah, which is a great spot.
No, that was definitely a thing. I can somewhat understand your warning of not looking into too much about Chris Benoit.
Oh God, did you?
Because I didn't do the research, but in this match I kind of saw he was a little crazy with a couple things that he decides to do.
Like what?
Like the fact that he wants to win, he's gonna go all out and try to win for those sorts of things. I believe he did it to both of them, I believe, but more so to Triple H with the chokehold sort of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, just not letting him go.
That's the thing I loved about Chris Benoit was his matches. There was this sense of urgency.
I'm not sure if it was specifically his move, but he's got one of the guys at the legs and gets all crazy with it.
Yeah, there's a great spot where he goes. I think it's on Shawn, where he goes for a sharpshooter, and then he gets blocked, and he gets pissed off, so he just slingshots him into the turnbuckle.
Right.
It's great. Yeah, but I love Chris Benoit. There's this sense of urgency and legitimacy to his matches because there are times where he'll suplex a guy, float over, and just start punching him in the face.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so smart and so smooth.
Oh yeah, I honestly thought that Chris was kind of out of it since Triple H takes him over out of the ring, over to the tables, and slams him out onto the tables. I'm guessing he's done.
Yeah, they do that double suplex through the announce table, which looks really cool. Okay, what's the finish to the match?
I think it was a tap out.
Yes.
So Triple H. I think it was the chokehold that.
It's the cripple crossface.
Cripple crossface. Okay.
Yes.
But yeah, tap out with that, and then I remember you saying or showing me at
Yes.
one point the celebratory thing for Chris Benoit.
Yes.
And all that sort of stuff. It's like, oh, okay, I've seen this sort of song and dance before.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, so that's how everything sort of led up to it.
Did you pay attention to the announcers in this?
A little bit, yes, but still it was kind of background noise with it. But they were shouting kind of the typical sort of fare for it, so...
This is legitimately one of my favorite moments in pro wrestling. Chris Benoit winning the world title in that moment, it's so perfect. And JR does such a good job of putting him over. It's fantastic. Anybody who's never seen that, go find it on YouTube. It is amazing.
It is a thing to watch, whether you're into wrestling or not, though.
I legitimately think his world titles, like him winning the title and getting it, I think that gets to I don't think you have to be a fan to appreciate that.
No, it's a typical sort of thing I see with most sports, that you feel the emotion sort of going through with someone going through that.
And I love Eddie coming out and them having the hug and everything. That's really cool.
Definitely.
And, well, we won't get into more about Chris Benoit. So what did you think of that match?
I thought on the whole it was definitely a good match with all the stuff that it sort of did. There were a couple particular moments, just they could have ended it sooner, but no, I understand they needed to get the show out of it and do all the stuff from there, but...
Yeah, I mean, it's a WrestleMania main event.
Yeah.
It's gotta go 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it is a triple threat match, so they tend to give those more time, because just logically.
Yeah.
Okay, so you also watched an episode of Smackdown.
Yes.
From, I believe it was March 11th, 2002.
Yes, there was the match against Chris Jericho and Edge, as well as the match with Triple H against Kurt Angle. So
yes, there are a few other matches.
There are a few other matches mixed in. So starts out with Kirk, and kind of a case.
Before you even get started on that, anybody who's a wrestling fan will immediately mark out for the opening, because this is the era of SmackDown, which I believe only lasted about 2 months, where they opened the show to the song "Beautiful People." So, anyway, go ahead.
Okay, but anyway, Kurt sort of comes out, and it was kind of a case of not a lot of people like Kurt Angle. Just sort of the chanting of "You suck."
So this is 2002. Kurt had only been in the company 2 years at this point,
and he kind of had the sort of the word escapes me, but he
has the presence and everything. He's only been in pro wrestling 2 years.
Yeah, and sort of was an Olympian.
Yeah, he has a certain pedigree, but he's only been in pro wrestling for 2 years. Yeah, and this is fucking good.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens with Kurt?
So he goes out and starts talking to all the fans, being like, "I feel like I'm getting disrespected. I need more respect in here. I've been a bloody Olympian." It's like, okay, good for you. How long have you been in wrestling, though? I believe it was Edge that came out.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Edge comes out to interrupt.
Yeah, to interrupt. And not sure if Egg's on the crowd.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Yeah, to just completely piss Kurt Angle off.
Yeah, he tells them to chant "You suck" after everything Kurt says.
Yeah.
Which they do pretty much anyway, but...
Then, just after all that tizzy, it's like, you know what, I'm done. Play my music, I'm not
Wait, no, don't play
my music. It's like, dude, you walked into that one.
It's great. It's great. They set up a match for Backlash, which was the next pay-per-view.
Yes.
And then we get Angle backstage with Jericho.
Yes.
And I just love where he's like, I can't stand these long blonde-haired Canadians who dress like rock stars. Oh, not you. You're cool. He just like, oh shit.
I mostly just sort of sat there. It's like, I'm not surprised that this stuff sort of happened, but I still don't enjoy it.
It's
just
so
how stupid and corny it is.
I think it's so funny. I have another note that after this we get the Subway Slam of the Week, and it's a roll-up. It's not even a proper, slam.
I was kind of the case oh god, they did these sort of things.
Oh yeah. They got like tons of sponsorship money from Subway for doing that shit.
No, that makes sense.
Then we get Tajiri is out with Tori Wilson to face the Hurricane.
Yeah. Honestly, as it was, he's decent enough with his acrobatics and whatnot that he does for wrestling, but the story that they sort of build up for that, I'm just kind of like...
Yeah, it's
really?
a little...
Really?
This is a little awkward. So, out of those two, who would be your favorite performer? Like, in terms of what they did in the ring. Was there one that really stood out to you, or...
Hurricane, I think, is more of a newcomer from what it sort of seemed.
He would have been new to the company, but he had probably been in the business at this point for a while.
In comparison to
Tajiri would have been in the business longer.
Oh, yeah. So he, experience-wise, Jericho would probably be a bit more experienced. Tajiri would probably be more experienced with it. As it is, I think he has the better skill with most of the stuff he sort of did, and it made sense for how the match sort of went and he won it, but just the story they made up for him is just kind of like,
The only thing I can say is at least he's getting a story.
Yeah, I suppose. Probably could be worse.
Yeah, it's a good match, but it only goes like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I really wish they would have got more time, because they could have done something special.
Oh boy, and then
Billy Kidman runs out and missile drop kicks Tajiri at the end of that segment. And then we get Stacy Keibler.
Yes.
Going into Mr. McMahon's office.
Yeah.
And laying out on the couch. And then we get Albert.
Yeah. That whole scene, I didn't get a lot of backstory to it, but it was kind of like he was part of a crew, then he wasn't part of a crew, he ditched out of that, wanted to do his own thing.
Yeah, he was in a tag team with Scotty 2 Hotty, and then last week he had just kind of like beat the shit out of him.
Okay. So, it was Scotty, I guess, was who was fighting?
Scotty 2 Hotty. Use his proper name.
Okay. Scotty 2 Hotty, I suppose, had this supposed move, and just starts sort of going around. It's like, oh man, he's going to do his special move. And then
Yeah, it's called the Worm.
Then, I believe it was Albert sort of...
Albert just squashes the shit out of him.
Yeah, just denied.
It's great.
It's like, oh, okay.
And then Rikishi comes out to save Hottie, as I refer to him in my notes.
Yeah. Yes.
Then we get another segment of Stacy Keibler backstage with Vinnie Mac, which sets up the main segment for the show.
Yes.
Which is Vince is going to hire a personal assistant.
And I was kind of like, with all the ridiculous things that I've seen up until this point, it does not surprise me. But this is most likely building up to the reason why I specifically asked you for this particular show. And I'm kind of like, I'm not really surprised that this sort of happened. I'm surprised what happened to it after it aired.
Okay, so next we get Billy, Chuck, and Rico are backstage with Al Snow and Maven.
Oh, yes, the prissy crew.
And they make fun of Maven. They're like, his eyebrows need waxing.
The prissy crew.
It's so great. There's Billy and Chuck, there was money there if they really would have gone with it. Anyway, we get Hogan cutting a promo backstage and he's interrupted by Jericho.
Yeah, and he was a little niffed.
Yeah.
Just about all that. And yeah, I'm surprised he bothered to do that, but I'm just sort of like, he's just stirring the pot.
That's what Jericho does. Like, 2002 Jericho is great. Okay, so then we get Jericho's out for his match with Edge, which, I mean, not surprisingly, they have a good match together.
Yeah, as it turned out pretty good. I was surprised that it ended the way it did, but yeah, I think it supposedly meshed with most everything there, but
yeah,
on the whole, it was definitely a good match.
Angle comes out to try to interfere. Jericho gets slingshotted into the ref and taps to the educator, but the ref was knocked out, so he didn't see it. Jericho eats a spear and then kicks out. Jericho gets the roll-up win after Angle interferes. He also grabs the tights.
Yes.
So I really like this finish because they're starting to push Edge. They're making, like, Edge doesn't win, but he doesn't look like shit when he loses.
Ah.
They still make him look strong, because technically he would have beat Jericho.
Nah, he probably would have.
Yeah, no, it's a really, really smart booking.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I saw the source of the meme.
Oh, we're not there yet. Edge and Angle brawl in the backstage.
Oh, yeah.
Jericho comes to help Angle. Edge eats an ankle slam and takes an ankle lock on the concrete.
Yes.
And Hogan comes in to be the hero.
Yes, yes.
And then Vince Rooney comes out to the ring.
Yes.
And he calls out his first candidate to be his personal assistant.
Yes.
And quickly dismisses her.
Yeah, pretty much.
The second one comes out and he barely gets a word in.
Yeah, no. It's just like...
And Vince is just like, get out!
You're...
The third candidate comes out and is quickly dispensed with.
Oh, no, like...
She gets a little more time,
It seems pretty good, but then it's like, is there one particular person that refuses to hear me say no? And then, yeah, she
Stacy's music hits and she comes out.
Yeah, yeah.
And Vince pulls the most amazing faces in recorded human history.
And thus creates the meme.
I just love... Vince, look, for all the stupid shit he's done, he is great at pulling faces like that. His facial expressions are on point.
Yes.
And then Vince is backstage, and oh my god, it's Reverend Devon.
Yeah.
And I know you don't know what that means, but people do, and it makes me happy.
Yeah.
Then we get the Mark Henry Strength Challenge, where Test... Basically, they have a gimmick where Mark's going to have his back up against the wall. He's going to hold the car.
Yes, and hold the car.
With his legs.
Triple H was kind of... wants him injured in some sort of way.
That's not Triple H.
Oh.
I know they look alike, but it's not him.
Oh, okay.
It's a different guy. His name's Test.
Okay.
He keeps gunning the car after the 30 seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
Billy and Chuck come out with Rico, and Al Snow comes out with Maven, and they have... it's fine, I guess. It's kind of boring. Snow wins with the snowplow. And then we get Triple H backstage with Hogan, and the Man of Many H's cuts a promo, which is basically just fuck off.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Angle comes out for his match with the Man of Many H's. Triple H comes out, and I just love the look of that belt.
Nah.
It looks so good.
Even better than yours.
Well, no. Let's not be ridiculous.
Be careful. I've been hearing down the grapevine that some people have been gunning to go after it.
Line them up and lock them down.
We'll see.
I have another note that says I need to check out more matches between these two because, god damn, for the little bit we get, it's really good. Unfortunately, the version we have gets cut off.
Yeah.
Basically, in the end, Triple H goes over. There's certain shenanigans after the match involving Hogan, Jericho, Trips, and Angle, where Jericho ends basically holding the title at the end of the show. Which is how we would go off air. Alrighty, so what did you think of that episode of the Smackdown?
Well, firstly, it was kind of a wave of nostalgia of that sort of time for when it was going on. And I can't say all of it was positive. A lot of it was a whole... Like, I think... oh, yeah, there's my note. I don't have enough nachos for how much bloody cheese was in this.
So this episode is... I mean, it's not the greatest episode of SmackDown. Not even close. There are a couple of good matches, and then there's some really fucking boring shit. Like that fucking Al Snow Chuck Palumbo match. Dear God, I almost fell asleep. But yeah, I mean, I think it's fine. It's nothing special though. I could have given you a better episode, but you wanted to see the Vince faces.
No, I just sort of wanted to understand where the meme sort of came from, and it definitely sort of made sense. I figured it probably would have been something more ridiculous than that, but yeah, with Vince McMahon, he could make just about anything ridiculous.
He does very well when it comes to pulling silly faces. Alrighty, so that is all the wrestling you watched.
Yep.
And I watched 2 episodes of Baccano.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to try to go over what happened in these 2 episodes, but fuck me if that first episode isn't confusing.
Well, that's kind of the thing with Baccano. They got the idea of going ahead to make this series, but it was kind of the case of, we have a whole bunch of these stories and we want to tell them, but how do we tell them in a somewhat decent way? And someone down the line just sort of said, let's just all tell them in parts and smush them all together. So there is a story there, but it all appears in pieces.
Yeah, and I think that's my problem with it. Okay, so here's the story as I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts off with a girl in a room reading a book.
Yes.
And then who we find out is the vice president comes in and they have a conversation. And she's like, hey, all this weird shit that's been happening, I think it started in 1931 because of this train ride.
Yes.
Okay. And then there's a bunch of stuff that happens in this episode that's related to, like, the mafia. And I don't know what the point of that was.
The mafia is completely involved with the story of how everything sort of went.
Okay. It is not clear. I did not see a connection there. Anyway, skipping to the second episode, which is the one I quite enjoyed, we actually get on a train.
Yes.
And we meet a whole bunch of characters.
Yes.
And we meet, oh shit, what are their names? It's like Vivian and, what's the guy's name? They pull the robbery.
The robber duo.
Yes, they are fantastic.
Definitely. One of the wonderful sights to see within the series.
Yeah. Oh, also in the first episode, we find out that there are people who can heal from, like, wounds, like, pretty much instantly. Like, they get a finger cut off and it just kind of, boop, back on.
Basically the immortals within the series.
Okay, so they're on this train, and by the end of the episode, we find out that there's this cult who is going to sacrifice a train full of people to their god so that their god will rise and do things.
Mm-hmm.
Vagueness and stuff. I love the concept of having, like, this train of people, and they're going to sacrifice it, and these people, this group of, like, disparate people have to work together to stop that. Mm-hmm. That's cool. There's just a chunk in episode 1 rather, that I'm just like, the fuck?
Well, with how much of the series I've sort of looked over and refreshing myself with the last couple of episodes, there's 7 stories going on, all connected to all the stories that happened.
So here's the reason I didn't like episode 1, but I really liked episode 2. Episode 2 still incorporates that stuff, but it incorporates it into a single narrative. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a story that you can follow easily. Mm-hmm. I'm going to probably get heat for this, but I'm going to compare it to Lost. Because Lost was a show with a fuck ton of mysteries. But you could follow them all. Because it wasn't just like, okay, we're going to show you a scene of this, then a scene of this, and a scene of this, and a scene of this. There was always connective tissue. So you could follow it. Episode 1, there's no connective tissue between so much of this stuff. I'm just like, I don't know where this lines up. Like, it didn't, I don't know. Maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention. I'll cop that. But I liked it in episode 2.
No, it's understandable. I think the case with episode 1 is, with the opening sequence just before everything started, it runs through kind of the main list of characters to keep an eye on, with all their names, certain sequences, and sort of a quick little idea of what to sort of expect from these characters. Yeah. And with the first episode, it kind of fills in the basis of where you are, sort of the time period you're sitting in, and a couple of the main characters that are going to be in this story, as well as the big plot or big point within the series that some of these people can't die. Okay. My whole thing was, personally, and this is, again, personal opinion, I would have rather had episode 1 cut down to a 5-minute prologue and just tacked on the front of episode 2 and call that episode 1. Because the whole stuff with the mafia, I'm like, I don't really care. I'm not interested in it. There are moments where I'm like, this, like, it looks really good. The animation is beautiful. But
I'm much more interested in the story that's taking place on the train than I am about any of this mafia nonsense.
It's just, with a couple specific characters within the story, they are somewhat involved with the mafia, so they're going to be around.
Yeah.
But it's not completely focused in with all that. In my case, it was only a couple specific characters that really drew me to this anime when I first heard about it. Firstly, the couple are absolutely amazing with everything that they do.
They're hilarious.
Absolutely. As well as Jacuzzi, the gentleman who's very scared that has the scar on his face.
Oh, yeah.
He's definitely interesting as the story goes on. But I think the one character that sort of cemented me wanting to watch this, if I remember the name right, was Lado Russo, gentleman with blonde hair and blue eyes, who is a masochist.
Okay.
When he wants to get something done, he's going to get it done in the most brutal, violent way possible.
Alrighty. I don't really remember him at all.
Nah, he's only there for a couple bits, and the first time you see him, you don't get that impression I described.
Okay. So, overall, I would consider definitely watching more.
Just to sort of to get a better idea of what the heck is going on, or with how everything sort of goes in the couple characters you've attached to, you'd like to see where the story goes with them.
I want to see more about the story on the train. Now, if that's the driving force of the rest of the series, because it's only like 16 episodes, I'd probably watch it. If they're going to spend a whole lot of time off the train, I'm going to lose interest. I can guarantee it.
The story does move off from the train a little bit, but it has to explain a couple other particular things within the story. So, I'm sure everything within the exact name of it, what was it? The Flying Pussyfoot.
Yes. The train has a great name. That's pretty great.
But now, on the whole, when I first sort of heard about it, I was kind of like, why the heck would someone want to watch an animated series that bounces between different story points and just leaves you sort of confused? When I first saw it, I was intrigued about it and was able to somewhat keep pace with it. So on the whole, I somewhat enjoyed it. Now, I can understand with you losing a bit of interest, but I'm happy to see that somewhat of the main storylines sort of stuck with you.
Yeah, no, the train bit is, to me, the only interesting part. But hey, at least it's something, and that was a main focus in episode 2, which I was quite happy with. Alrighty, so do you have anything left to add, Dave?
No, I think as it is with everything I've seen with the wrestling, it can be pretty weird. And as it is with the series I showed you, the storyline and whatnot can be pretty weird. So, they both sort of equal out.
Okay, I have one last question for you. Out of all of the wrestling you watched, is there anybody who you're like, I want to see more of them? Because you got to see kind of a whole bunch of different people, especially on that Smackdown episode.
Well, sort of separating it out into the couple specific things I saw.
Yeah.
With double checking with the notes on with the triple match.
Yes.
Triple H has kind of always been kind of in the background for most of my life, so he's kind of been sort of a thing.
Yes.
And with you kind of giving me that warning of Chris Benoit, most likely I might do a little bit of looking into that. Whether or not it's for my own good or not, I'll have to take that risk. We'll see how that goes.
So Triple H is somebody who isn't necessarily the most flashy in-ring performer. He doesn't do anything like Triple H doesn't do a diving headbutt. He doesn't do a 450 splash.
It's kind of the case that when Triple H was around, he was kind of the showboater, most common thing that anyone that wasn't exactly into wrestling kind of saw about wrestling.
Well, and like there's a reason he became a star. And it's because he has a style that is, I'm not going to say it's fuck-up proof, but it's pretty close to fuck-up proof. Because he doesn't do anything high risk or anything like that. His moveset is like suplexes, spine busters, punches, clotheslines. Like, he doesn't fuck up a lot because his moveset isn't big and flashy, but it's effective and it always looks good.
Sort of on the line of playing it safe, but enough to give a decent amount of entertainment and style to it.
Yeah, and like he's good enough at what he does that he doesn't need to do more. Like when he does, like, because he is capable of doing like the chain wrestling and the more brawler style. He doesn't need to, do a whole bunch of flashy shit to get noticed.
He's kind of decent enough at the baseline of wrestlers to sort of
Like,
match in that.
he's very good in ring. He's just not flashy.
No.
It's a very solid fundamental performer.
And then, as it is with all the other stuff that sort of happened around, it probably would be decent to go back and check out a couple of matches that Hulk Hogan used to do.
Okay.
Just to see, well, Hulk Hogan was the big enough icon as it was. It's good to
So
sort of
you're going to
where
see
it comes
5
from.
moves.
Yeah, pretty much, most likely. I can't remember the name of the tag team, but the guys that weren't the prissies.
Oh, that was... Let me bring up my notes here. Who did they take on? They took on... Oh, Al Snow and Maven. I don't think they were actually a tag team.
Oh, okay. Just sort of got pulled into the match with that sort of thing.
Yeah, they might have done a couple of tag matches together, but I don't think they were ever really a team.
Okay, but as it was, they both seemed fairly decent with it, and yeah, the prissy guy's first impression, I was just like, yeah, I don't really like you guys.
So Maven has an amazing drop kick, and Al Snow is another guy who is very fundamentally sound. Never became the kind of star that Triple H did, but he had a long, pretty good career for himself. So there's plenty of Al Snow stuff out there if you want to watch. He did a match, actually, I want to say in around 2010. I forget who it was with. He did a match where neither of them took a single bump in the entire match.
Oh, which one was that? I guess it was in the triple threat match. Was that still around the time where they used that method for getting the blood, or was that the new method?
There is no new method. That is how you get blood.
Oh, so it was that case with them.
It's a razor. There's no other... How else are you going to get blood, David?
Well, you mentioned at some point that were trying to steer away from that sort of
eventually,
stuff.
WWE prohibited blading. You're not like... If you're a wrestler on the show now, you're not allowed to blade. Now, guys still get busted open because somebody throws a punch too hard or stuff like that.
From incidences.
Yeah,
but
shit happens, but they don't cut themselves.
No, but during that triple threat match, it was a thing that happened.
Oh, yes. Yes, in 2002, there was still blood. Is there anybody else that kind of grabbed your attention?
I think the only other particular person was Kurt, but it was for wrong reasons. It's just kind of a case of, you're playing the I want to be respected, but I'm being a young little child about it, and I'd love to absolutely see your face get punched in.
Kurt was great because he played everything so sincere. Because, like, when he debuted, he came out and, like, they built up the whole thing of him being the Olympic hero and I'm the first real athlete in WWF and this whole thing. And he would always come up and people would boo him and he's like, but I'm an Olympic hero. And he's great. He's also really, really good in the ring. He's a phenomenal performer. Anybody else?
No, I think that pretty much fills the list with it. Honestly, with Edge and Chris Jericho, they kind of were skirting the line of the young, douchey sort of guys that sort of go into those sort of matches, and I'm like, I could stand you and tolerate you, but I can't really follow you guys as it is now.
Okay. At some point, you're going to see an Edge match, and at another point, you will see a Chris Jericho match, and I think you're going to really like them when you actually get to watch them.
In the good way or the bad way?
They are both amazing.
Nah, with the little bit that I saw within the match, they have skill, but again, I probably have to see them in a full match.
Jericho's character will change quite a bit over the course of his run.
That would be nice.
Edge's character evolves as well.
No.
Jericho actually goes full, like, almost like serial killer heel.
Huh.
And it's pretty great. Because he gets, like, a suit and it's great. Anyway, so I think that's going to be it. I'm Paul.
I'm Dave.